Gemini, don't ignore this reading. Tomorrow, a call or message may completely change the direction of a situation. This feels sudden, important, and impossible to ignore. Gemini, something is already moving toward you, not in some distant, theoretical future you have to keep convincing yourself to believe in. Right now, tonight, in the hours between when you close this video and when you open your eyes tomorrow, something is in motion that is going to find its way to your phone, your inbox, your door. And I want to be very precise about what I mean when I say that, because I know you sat with the idea of something is coming before, and watched that something arrive as less than it promised. What I'm tuning into right now as I hold your energy is not a whisper. It's not a maybe. It is a call or a message that is already on its way to you. And when it arrives, when those words land in your ears or your eyes, you are going to feel the specific sensation of your entire story shifting underneath your feet. That's why you're here. That's why out of everything you could have been watching right now, your intuition navigated you to this reading. Not because you're desperate, not because you're grasping, because something inside you already knows what your logical mind hasn't fully permitted itself to believe yet. And it brought you here to hear the confirmation spoken out loud before the confirmation itself arrives. I want you to stay with me for this entire reading. Pull out your cards if you have them. Grab a drink, get comfortable. Because what the cards have to say about what's coming toward you right now is something you are going to want to hear in full. And I do not intend to rush a single word of it. The first card that came through for you is the High Priestess. And she arrived reversed, and I need you to understand what that means in this specific context before we go any further. Because everything about the energy around this incoming news lives inside this card. The High Priestess in her upright position is silence, mystery, knowledge that stays hidden beneath the surface, wisdom that hasn't been spoken yet. She is everything unspoken. Every answer that exists but hasn't been delivered. Every truth that is known but hasn't yet been released into the open. She is the held breath. And reversed, what she's telling you is that that held breath is about to be released. All of that information, all of that energy, all of that knowing that has been sitting behind a veil, not yet available to you, not yet something you had access to, is about to move from that hidden place into the visible, speakable, receivable world. This card reversed in this position is one of the clearest signals I have ever seen in a reading that something that has been withheld, delayed, or kept in an unspoken state is about to break the surface. And I want to sit with you in what that means emotionally for a moment. Because I don't think we talk enough about how exhausting it is to live on the receiving end of information you know exists, but cannot yet access. Someone somewhere has been sitting with something that belongs to you, a decision that affects your life, a feeling that concerns your heart, an answer to an application or request you submitted and then had to simply let go of and wait. That information has been in someone else's hands, in someone else's mind, and you have been here, in this space of not knowing, doing your best to simply keep living while the answer you need sits just out of reach. The High Priestess reversed is telling you that that gap, that painful distance between the answer existing and the answer reaching you, is closing. The veil is thinning. What was hidden is preparing to be revealed. And the form it takes, the form the High Priestess reversed almost always takes when she shows up in a news and communication reading, is exactly what this reading's title describes: a direct transmission, a call, a message. Someone choosing, consciously and deliberately, to take what they've been holding and put it into words, and send those words directly to you. The second card is the Ace of Wands, and the energy in this card is so alive, it almost vibrates in my hands as I pull it. And I need you to understand what the aces mean before I go further, because they are unlike any other card in the deck. An ace is not a continuation. An ace is not the next step in a sequence that's already in motion. An ace is a beginning. An ace is the very first spark of something that did not exist before this moment. It is the universe extending its hand toward you, and in that hand holding a gift, an invitation, a raw and potent possibility that was not available to you in the chapter that came before. And the Ace of Wands specifically is the spark of fire, the ignition of passion, inspiration, momentum, and action. It is the card of things catching light. It is the card of energy that has been dormant suddenly having a channel to move through. It is the card of doors opening. And when the Ace of Wands appears directly after the High Priestess reversed in a reading about news that's coming, what the cards are constructing together is a very specific and very exciting narrative. The news that's coming is not just going to inform you of something. It is going to ignite something inside you. It is going to give something that has been quiet and still and waiting inside you a reason to catch fire again. There is a version of you that is going to exist on the other side of this call or this message, and that version is going to feel something you may not have felt in a while. Not just relief, though relief will absolutely be part of it. Excitement. Real, genuine, forward-moving excitement about what your life looks like from this moment forward. The Ace of Wands is the card of life saying yes to you after a stretch where the answer seemed perpetually delayed. And I want you to let the weight of that land, because for a lot of you watching this, it has been a long time since you felt the particular energy of something genuinely new beginning. And that is what is incoming. Not a conclusion, a beginning. The third card is the Eight of Pentacles. And this card is doing something very specific and important in the spread that I need to address directly because it speaks to something I sense you might be wrestling with in the back of your mind even as you sit here hoping. The Eight of Pentacles is the card of devotion to work, of mastery, of showing up consistently even when the recognition hasn't come yet. It is the card of the craftsperson who is still at the workbench, still refining, still putting in the hours, still trusting the process, even in the stretches where the process doesn't seem to be responding. And it appears here in the position of foundation, in the position of what has created the conditions for the news that's coming. And what this card is saying, what it is saying to you directly and without ambiguity, is that what is incoming is not arbitrary. It is not luck randomly distributed among people who happen to be in the right place. It is the direct result of something you did. Something you kept doing when keeping doing it was hard. There is an investment you made, whether that's an application you sent in and then had to let sit, a relationship you have showed up for with consistency and authenticity even when you weren't sure how it was going to resolve. A project or creative effort or business endeavor you kept building even on the days the building felt hollow. Or simply the daily, ongoing choice to remain open and available to your own life rather than shutting down out of self-protection. The Eight of Pentacles says that investment is cashing out. That the work, whether it was literal work in a professional sense, or the harder internal work of staying emotionally present through a difficult and uncertain stretch of time, has produced a result. And that result is what is arriving in the form of this call or this message. I want you to receive this card as a reminder that you earned what's coming. That is not a small thing. In a world where it can sometimes feel like outcomes are random, like effort and outcome are only loosely related, this card is a direct, unambiguous statement that what is coming toward you is connected to who you have been through the difficult parts, to the version of you that kept going when stopping would have been so much easier. The fourth card is the Six of Swords. And this card, of all the cards that could have come up in this reading, might be the one I most want to sit inside with you, because it speaks to where you've been in a way that I think needs to be witnessed and acknowledged before we can fully move into what's coming. The Six of Swords is the card of transition, of leaving troubled waters and moving toward calmer ones. In the traditional imagery, there is a figure, sometimes two, being ferried across water, away from rough, choppy waves toward a still and glassy horizon. The swords stand upright in the boat, not yet removed, because this isn't the card of having fully arrived or of all difficulties being resolved. It's the card of the movement itself, the passage, the crossing. And it shows up here as the bridge between the waiting and the arriving, the difficult stretch that is ending and the clearer one that is beginning. Some of you need to hear this. The hard part is almost over. Not all of it, not every hard thing that exists in your life, but the particular painful, indefinite, holding your breath not knowing chapter that this reading is specifically about, the one that has asked so much of your patience and your faith and your ability to simply keep going without having the information you needed, that chapter is closing. The fifth card is the Knight of Cups, and this card brings a very specific and emotionally resonant quality of energy into this reading that I don't want to gloss over because I think it speaks to a thread of this situation that many of you will recognize immediately and deeply. The Knight of Cups is the romantic messenger of the tarot. He is the figure who travels toward you, specifically to deliver something from the heart. Not logistics, not facts and figures, something personal, something that has feeling behind it. He is the card of someone extending themselves emotionally, of someone crossing their own internal distance to say something that matters, of communication that carries warmth and genuine intention in addition to information. And in this context, in this reading about a call or a message, the Knight of Cups is telling some of you very specifically what kind of communication is arriving. For those of you who are in or adjacent to a situation with another person, a romantic situation or a deeply personal one, a friendship or relationship where there has been silence or distance, or an unresolved quality to things, this Knight is the energy of someone who has been working up to something, someone who has been turning words over in their own mind, sitting with what they want to say, waiting until they felt ready or clear or brave enough to actually say it. And his arrival in this reading is the signal that the waiting they've been doing inside themselves is resolving. They are coming to you. Not someday, not when circumstances are perfect, soon. Because they've arrived at the place inside themselves where not saying it anymore costs more than saying it. For those of you whose incoming news is more professional or logistical in nature, the Knight of Cups still adds something important to the texture of what's coming. It tells you that the person or people delivering this news are doing so with goodwill, that there is warmth in how this arrives, that whatever the news itself contains, it is being given to you in a spirit of generosity, not reluctance. The sixth card is Judgment. And this card arriving here, in this position, in this reading, makes everything I've been saying to you so far land harder and with more certainty. Because Judgment is one of the most powerful major arcana cards in the deck, and it does not show up without weight. Judgment is the card of awakening, of clarity that arrives suddenly and completely, like a bell sounding, like a trumpet calling. It is the card of things becoming undeniable, of a truth that was always present becoming impossible to ignore or push aside any longer. It is the card that says something has completed its cycle of delay and ambiguity and has arrived at its moment of resolution. This card tells you that the news coming your way is final in the best sense of that word. It is not another preliminary update that leaves the situation open-ended. It is not another partial communication that gives you something but also requires more waiting. It is a decisive communication. It is the moment of knowing, clearly and completely, what the situation is, what someone's decision is, what the answer to the thing you've been waiting on is. And the specific quality of judgment, the thing that distinguishes it from other cards of completion, is that the change it heralds isn't just external. Yes, your circumstances are going to shift when this news arrives. But judgment is fundamentally a card about waking up, about something inside you being called forward into a more complete version of itself. The news is not just going to change what's happening around you. It's going to change how you see yourself. It's going to update your own understanding of what you are capable of, what you deserve, what is possible in your life. And that internal shift, the upgrade to your own self-image and your own sense of what's available to you, is going to be, in some ways, the more profound and lasting effect of this communication. Circumstances can change again. Belief in your own worthiness, once genuinely upgraded by real evidence, tends to stay. The seventh card is the Three of Cups, and this card floods the reading with the most beautiful energy I could have hoped to see at this stage of the spread. And I want you to really let yourself receive what it's offering. The Three of Cups is the card of celebration, of coming together, of joyful reunion, and the particular warmth that exists when good things happen and the people who love you get to witness it. In the imagery, three figures raise their cups, heads thrown back, faces open, celebrating something together. And in a reading about incoming news, this card in this position is telling you something about the aftermath of what's coming, about the energy that follows the communication itself. And I want you to hear it fully. There are people in your life who are going to be so happy for you. The eighth card is the Sun. And I want to give this card the silence it deserves before I say a word about it. Because the Sun does not arrive in a reading as a background detail or a soft supporting note. The Sun is one of the most powerful and unambiguous cards in the entire tarot deck. And its presence here, in this reading, directly addressing the news that is coming toward you, is something I need you to understand the full weight of. The Sun is pure clarity, pure warmth, pure visibility. It is the card of things becoming illuminated beyond question or shadow. It is the card of outcomes that are not just acceptable or tolerable, but genuinely, radiantly good. It is the card that says not only is this going to work out, it is going to work out in a way that gives you light and warmth and a sense of being genuinely, fully alive in your own story. For so many of you who have been sitting in a kind of shadow period, carrying the weight of waiting and not knowing, and trying to maintain hope when hope required effort to sustain, this card is the promise that the shadow is ending. Not temporarily, not until the next difficult thing comes along. This specific stretch of shadow, this specific period of not knowing and waiting and hoping is ending. What comes next has the quality of sunlight, of openness, of relief that expands rather than contracts. I also want to say something about the Sun in relation to the message or the call specifically. because the presence of this card tells me something about the nature of what's incoming that I want to be clear about. Whatever news is arriving, whatever the call or message contains, it is good news. I know that might feel like an overstatement, and I know some of you are carrying enough accumulated disappointment that receiving that sentence requires you to work through some resistance before you can actually let it in. But I want to say it plainly and without hedging. What is coming toward you is good. The sun does not lie. The sun does not show up in readings about difficulty. It shows up in readings about exactly this, about the news that changes everything, arriving with warmth and light, and the quality of a door opening rather than a door closing. The ninth card is the Four of Cups reversed, and this card is speaking directly to your emotional state right now, in the present moment. And I want you to really hear it because I think it's one of the most honest and important cards in this entire spread. The Four of Cups upright is the card of apathy, of turning inward, of sitting with arms crossed while the world makes offers that go unnoticed. In its upright form, it speaks to someone who has been so absorbed in their own feelings, so focused on what they don't have or what they're waiting for, that they've become closed off to what's actually available to them in the present moment. Reversed, the Four of Cups is the card of that beginning to shift, of someone opening their eyes and their arms again, of willingness returning. And it asks you something specific. Are you open right now? Are you actually available to receive what's coming? Or are you so braced against disappointment, so locked into the pattern of protecting yourself from hope, that even when the good news arrives, you're going to be slow to let it in? I ask this not to be harsh, but because I think this card knows something about you that deserves to be named. There's a self-protective layer that built up during the waiting, a kind of emotional armor that you developed not because you're closed off by nature, but because staying open for something that kept not arriving started to feel like a wound you were choosing to keep open. That armor made complete sense as a response to what you were living through. But the Four of Cups reversed is asking you to start gently, carefully, consciously loosening that armor right now, before the news arrives. Because the version of you who receives this communication in an open, available state is going to be able to fully inhabit the experience of it in a way that the armored version cannot. This card is asking you to practice being open again. Not because you have to, because what's coming deserves to land in a you who is ready to fully feel it. The 10th card is the Ace of Cups, and I want you to understand what it means for the reading to close with two aces, because that is not a coincidence, and it is not a subtle thing. We open with the Ace of Wands, the spark of fire, the beginning of momentum and passion and forward movement. And we close with the Ace of Cups, the overflowing vessel, the outpouring of emotional abundance, the beginning of a feeling cycle that has nothing to do with scarcity. Two aces in a single spread is rare, and when both appear in a reading about incoming news, it is telling you something that I want to state as plainly and directly as I can. What is arriving is not just going to change what you have, it is going to change what you feel, sustainably, at the level of your daily emotional experience. The Ace of Cups is the card of emotional fullness, of the heart having what it needs, of the particular quality of inner experience that makes ordinary days feel rich instead of empty. It is the card of love in all its forms, not just romantic love, but the broader experience of feeling connected, valued, seen, and met. Here is what I need you to take with you when you close this video. Everything we have walked through together, every card, every message, every piece of what the energy is carrying right now, it is all pointing toward the same thing. Something is coming. It is in the form of direct contact, a call or a message that is already in motion, already being composed, already on its way to you in a space that exists just slightly ahead of the present moment. And when it arrives, and it will arrive soon, it is going to carry within it the kind of information that reorganizes things. Not just practically, not just logistically, at the level of what you believe your life is allowed to become. I said this at the beginning, and I want to say it again at the end because I think it's the thing that is most true and most easy to forget. You did not find this reading accidentally.